Hey everybody, I'm the Drink Pro, and today we're reviewing Peg Leg Porker Batch 2. What's up everybody, Kyle the Drink Pro here with you yet again. Thank you as always for tuning in, liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with your friends. All of those things help me out immensely. Today, we are reviewing Peg Leg Porker Batch 2. Now, Peg Leg Porker started as a barbecue restaurant and has evolved into other brands, specifically bourbon. Now, this is a Tennessee sourced bourbon. They will freely admit this is sourced from Dickel. This is Dickel juice, and it is a 12-year-old product. They have different age statements and some non-age stated products coming out of the Peg Leg Porker lineup. But the one I have today was released in 2017. It is batch 2, and it is age stated at 12 years. Now, it's sitting at a pretty low proof, 92.7 proof, which usually is not what I'm looking for, but it might be good because I've heard that this one is kind of hot. Now, Peg Leg Porker is a brand that was formed by barbecue pitmaster Carrie Bringle, and Carrie has brought a lot of interesting components to this whiskey that make it more than just a standard source product. One of the things I want to talk about throughout the month is the difference between just picking up a whiskey and putting it in a bottle and taking a source product and doing something fun to it, doing your own thing to it. And that's exactly what Carrie has done here. So after allowing the whiskey to age in the barrel for 12 years, Carrie then filters the whiskey after the aging process, and he filters it through Hickory charcoal. Now, those of you who are familiar with the Lincoln County process, which is a very famous process used for Tennessee whiskey, they filter the distillate before it's aged in the barrel, and they use sugar maples, not hickory. One other fun component about this, Carrie actually creates the charcoal from the hickory wood by burning the wood in the same smoker that he used to make his barbecue. He smokes his hogs in that same smoker, and I'm wondering if that's going to impart some flavor into this distillate. We will find out. Before we get too far into the whiskey, I wanted to give you guys a quick update. If you watch my channel, if you're a fan of it, please consider joining the Patreon. That's patreon.com/thedrinkpro. And there's never been a better time to join, I gotta be honest with you, because there is so much cool stuff happening. We're giving away some whiskey bottles. We're doing a very cool tasting. The period to sign up for that tasting is almost closed. So if you join now, consider joining the annual subscription and you will still have the opportunity to get in on those tasty pours. Finally, for the highest tier, we've got some really cool exclusive merch that's coming to a mailbox near you. So I hope you'll consider joining the Patreon. There's a lot of cool benefits to doing so. Keep an eye out, guys. Now, I don't think I've said already, but this distillate is 84% corn, 8% rye, 8% malted barley. That's a pretty high corn mash bill. And so I really expect to be able to smell the corn, but also that classic Dickel funk. The fact that it's gonna have some of that minerality and some of that fruitiness that you come to expect from Dickel. Some people hate it, some people love it, some people are in the middle. Ooh, I really like the smell of this. So the classic Dickel notes, if you don't know already, are this sort of Flintstones vitamin. That's gonna be minerality, it's gonna be fruity, artificial fruit almost. And I definitely get those notes here. I get this very clear orange note, which actually kind of reminds me of Old Carter Batch 6, which is a Dickel product that's sourced. Definitely a lot of that orange, tangerine, citrus fruit. There's also still this minerality there for sure, but it's much more subtle than I've gotten in some of the younger Dickel expressions. If you are not sure whether or not you'll like Dickel, I highly recommend going 13 year, 12 year, 15 year, a product that's gonna have more age on it because those notes that turn a lot of people off are much more subtle. But this to me is a lot more complex than just a classic Dickel profile. I definitely get the fruitiness and the minerality, but there's also this really nice honey caramel sweetness on the front. And the more I smell it, it's almost like honey roasted almonds. There's a distinct nuttiness, for me at least, on the front of the nose here. And the more I keep smelling it, the deeper I go, it kind of gets quieter and the sweetness kind of parts away and pushes through that nuttiness, but on the surface in a light nosing, you get some really nice nutty characteristics. And I gotta say, I'm surprised how much that charcoal comes through. I can definitely smell the hickory influence because this is a surprisingly oaky whiskey. Maybe it shouldn't be surprising because 12 years is a lot of time on wood in a hot climate, but a lot of times for me, oakiness comes through bitter or sharp, but this is very distinctly cooked down charcoal wood. It's hard to put my finger on it, but it smells almost like a smoky kind of thing. Not smoky in the way Isla is, not the iodine smoke, not the peat smoke, but just sort of like lightly burned wood. It's the kind of smell you would expect from a smoked old fashioned that's been sitting out for a while. And in fact, when I think about that smoked old fashioned motif, there's a lot of those components in here. This would probably make a really good smoked old fashioned because there's a bit of this cherry note. I already mentioned the orange quality and the sweetness. I mean, this is a smoked old fashioned with all of those other notes that aren't whiskey turned down drastically. You know, I always feel bad about talking about the Dickel profile as this Flintstone vitamin quality. I think it's accurate, but I think it turns a lot of people off. It's almost like fruity pebbles on a whetstone, stale bread with fruity pebbles, or maybe that like zebra striped gum left out on the cement during a hot day for too long and it gets sticky. I mean, the note's really familiar and something that you can easily pull out of a sourced whiskey in particular, but it's not a bad note. I think people assume it's going to be bad. People self-select it to be bad, and it's hard to blind because it's so unique. People know it right away. It's hard to blind this whiskey. Talking about cereal really got me thinking about some of the notes in this. I definitely get honey and grains, maybe even a little bit of like honey wheat, even though this isn't a wheated whiskey. One other thought before we taste it, I definitely smell the corn, but it smells like sweet corn. It smells like cooked sweet corn. A lot of times when I get a corny note, it's more like an unpleasant sharp grain. This smells like a warm, inviting, tasty dish to put aside my steak. Or barbecue. I should have said barbecue. This is a fucking barbecue joint. All right, let's go ahead and taste this. Cheers. Ooh, it's light. It's very fruity. Definitely has that mineral quality. It's an earthiness is what I would call it, but it's not dirt and it's not tobacco. It's almost limestone-esque, like limestone water. Interesting. Man, you can really taste that filtration. The charcoal leaves a super smooth profile, but it also leaves a little bit of hickory flavor, and I would say a little bit of bitterness. 12 years in oak, and then filtering through more oak. God damn it. I've had the Wild Turkey Long Branch, which is another thing that's charcoal filtered, not Lincoln County process. They use mesquite, but I didn't feel like it impacted the flavor as much as this does. This is really pronounced. It's almost predominant. It's a distinctly hickory flavor up front, but then everything else is super mellowed out. It's low proof and it's been charcoal filtered. But also there's this almost bitterness, this sort of burnt wood quality that really stands out, and it's distinct from what you're gonna get from Isla's or Campbelltown's or other scotches where smokiness is a common quality. This is totally something different. I think this has a lot of potential. This is a really great, oh no. I think this whiskey has a lot of potential. It's a really great, unique pour. It's got a lot of things going for it. It's not my preferred pour. A couple of reasons. Number one, the bitterness from the charcoal or from the 12 years in oak is kind of prominent. It stands out to me. It's a little more bitter than it should be, considering it's something that's been filtered and something that is overall presenting a very mellow profile. The bitterness should not stand out at all. Number two, the minerality of Dickel is standing out a little bit too much. I've had a couple of different Dickel pours where the fruitiness is more predominant and the minerality takes a back seat. I love that. The minerality taking more of a front seat here, or at least being, you know, in tandem with the fruitiness up front, mid-palate minerality, then the finish of bitter oak. Two of those three are just not my thing, and so it's hard for me to recommend this. That said, if you want a unique pour, if you want to support a small business, a guy who's doing something different with source whiskey and not just throwing it in a bottle and selling it to make a profit, it's a good guy to support. I like what he's doing. I like he's trying something new. Like I said, it's not my preferred profile, but I would drink this again, and I would definitely try to make a cocktail with it. So if high-end cocktails are your thing, this is also definitely a recommendation. Let's dig deeper here for a second. The fruitiness up front on this pour has a lot of vanilla components within it. So it almost presents like a creamy fruitiness, because the vanilla is really front and center, at least right off the bat on your tongue. I get a little bit of tropical fruit, maybe a guava, maybe a pineapple, but they're pretty subtle. Mid-palate, is when this black pepper starts to show up. That's really nice, actually. The more I drink this, the less the minerality is interfering, which is good, but that's also me kind of getting used to the profile. And then the finish offers that nice, mellow, charcoal oakiness, but it has this unavoidable tinge of bitter aftertaste that's just really killing my vibe. I get a little bit of dark chocolate in the mid palate as well. There's almost a salinity, but it's very, very, very subtle. I think I also get a hint of black walnut mid palate into the finish as well, but honestly, the more I drink in this, the more it's that very last note that's killing me. I got more and more used to the minerality over time. I still kind of stand by my recommendation that you have to be wanting to try something a little bit different, want to be supporting this guy, or want to be making cool cocktails. I'm not sure if you don't like Dickel, you're just not going to like this. That said, I think the reason you won't like it is going to be about that very last finish component. The minerality gets more and more quiet as you keep sipping it. The fruitiness is still artificial, but it takes a back seat because there's so much vanilla going on. But man, that final tinge of bitter oak. It's a shame. I really wanted to love this stuff, but I kind of knew going into it was going to be an uphill battle given what I understood about the process. I'm going to go finish the pour that I've got. You all keep drinking like professionals. Cheers.